Hi, welcome to my program. This week I want to talk about the effect of coronavirus into the global economy and mostly to Turkish economy. As you know, Turkey has met with the first case on the mid of March, and today we are almost the end of March, and there are around 10,000 cases, open cases in Turkey. And we believe that these numbers will escalate before the mid of, let's say, April to peak time. As almost in every nation, this has also created an economical burden to country, to state authorities. And we want to talk about how Turkey is dealing with this and what might be the scenario within 2020 and how we think it will be ended up. So let's talk. Now, as you know, mid-March, Turkey has met with the first cases, and the numbers now escalated from the 12th, I think, of March up until today by 10,000 around this. We believe that like the peak time will be almost the mid of April, or between mid of April and almost end of April. And then we believe that it will start to come down the number of daily cases. And everywhere, like every nation or every state, it has a great burden on the economy. And we won't talk about this, as you might maybe be aware, but almost 27% of the GDP is based on the sale that we Turks are doing or conducting to other nations. We believe that almost half of the our export will be stopped, which means that we are not going to sell, let's say, maybe 50% of it, and therefore we estimate that out of 27% it will be 13%, so which makes around 4% of the GDP, or 3 to 4% of the GDP compared to last year is going to be reduced because of these activities. Now, when it comes to domestic market, which is like 72% of the GDP, we believe that almost 40% or 30 to 40% in average, I will say, good and most likely scenarios, it's going to be reduced. So which means it's like 21% or 22% to 26-27% will be reduced too. So in total, when we add up this, it's just a rule of thumb, we come up with 25% to 30% the GDP is going to be shrank in Turkish economy within 2020, in case there will be no solution at all. Is that really how it's going to be? Yes, it is, because now in Turkey there are 14 cities now under quarantine, and we expect that the full quarantine, which I mean that no exit, no entrance to cities, including Istanbul, Ankara, and Izmir, is going to be settled or set shortly, within week time, 10 days at most. If you want to take the control of the quarantine, like the China has done during especially January and February, it is a learned lesson that you have to put strict measurements in the country in order to fight with this virus. What China has done at that moment, they put the Wuhan as a region, as a quarantine. It's like a 15 million city. They don't allow anyone to in, and they don't anyone go out from the city. So what has happened is that they have contained the virus within that city. They fight with it. So in order to also feed the economy, they give whatever necessary to those peoples. In Turkey at this moment, like in the US, there is no specific saying that the country or the state is considering to print money in order to support the people. In Turkey, there are almost 19.6 million, I would say, households in Turkey, which means that it's like, including families, it's like 60, 70 million, 80 million, all these things. So what is going to happen is now, Turkey has to print money if they want to contain this, and they have to apply strict measurements to countries, all over the countries, I mean. Not only 14 cities and some villages, but all of the country. Then in 2 to 3 weeks time, we will expect this to be coming down. At this moment, there is a quarantine measurements and also social distancing measurements in Turkey, but I don't believe that it is really working as we should expect, because there are still people go to work or offices that have to work because they depend on the monthly salaries in order to survive. So if Turkey wants to avoid this, either the companies has to keep up paying those employee salaries for the next consecutive 3 to 4 months even, or the government has to print money, the Turkish lira, and put each bank account an amount of, I will say, 500 to 600 US dollars in average at least, in order to keep them survive, and also put some really new legislations like no one can be sent out of their houses even if it is rented but cannot be paid at this moment, and other things. Otherwise, these measurements, whatever they have been taking at the moment, is not going to work efficiently, and the death toll is going to only increase. Therefore, I do believe that these measurements will be taken, because it's not possible for Turkey to stand all this pressure once the death tolls are going to rise. Secondly, this is the best way to fight the virus and the virus effect in the economy, because at first the people and the people's lives, and then the economy should be considered. So we believe that Turkey, either they will say it openly or they will not, we believe that they are going to print money. This is the only way it can be fought with. But we should also think or see the bright side of this. Now we are seeing such reports, let's say, from US and from European countries, and now we have already started seeing the number of daily cases are reducing in Italy, in I would say Switzerland, in Spain, in Portugal and others, even in UK. And hopefully this is going to at least get to a manageable risk levels. If so, we will expect, like in US, in Turkey, the peak time will be mid-April to end of April. Somewhere else we wait there, the peak time will be. And if these measurements will be taken as soon as possible, hopefully within this week, we hope it should be. And then and then we expect that these events might really come up to an end by end of June to July. Now there are two things I want to give you as a good news. According to reports in US, the peak time is estimated by mid-April, and they expect that it will be come to an acceptable level of risk by end of June to end of July, somewhere else there. And also there are some reports from UK also suggest the same or similar path. Also, there is one more thing that I would like to share with you personally. I have a friend of mine in China, and he has told me that they have resumed working over there. Maybe not 100% fully, but they have mostly, majorly, they have started working over there. And even last week they have sent 150 wagons of train to Germany, Duisburg, which contain mostly the 8 materials for the fight with the corona, and also the some industrial spare parts. This shows that China has resumed to work, although there are still strict measurements that they are permanently under track to measure their body temperature, and they are not socializing as it was before. But the schools will be opened, or will be started to be open by 7th of April. And we are hoping that these kind of measurements is going to put this to an acceptable level, and the fight with this virus will hopefully be finalized by end of summer for the rest of the world at least, so that the economy might start again building up. If that will be the case, then 20% of the GDP compared with the last year loss will be an acceptable or most likely scenario we will consider. But of course, for 2020, we can already accept that it's a lost year, but this is acceptable for all nations, I believe. There are some people that they suggest that Turkey should go to IMF. I call them crazy, and they are talking with their, I don't know where I should refer to, but not with their brain. What do you expect from IMF? How IMF is going to propose Turkey what to do? IMF function only will be supplying money, and that's all. They will not implement any kind of control measurements, because really, if you consider this is not something that IMF has also been experienced at all. The world is changing for sure at this moment, at least for the couple of 1 year, maybe 2 years. And IMF can or should not, or I don't believe they would also be interested to support a country, because they don't know where it is headed to. IMF might help by borrowing some money, giving some money to other nations or states, but they will not put measurements, because we don't know at this moment how the new world is going to be come up. Therefore, I don't believe that anyone who suggests that Turkey should go to IMF is talking with logic, and you should not even trust them. You should close your channel if somebody, or if you hear that Turkey should really go to IMF. It's out of their mind. What will happen? Yes, like in the United States, Turkey is going to print money. We believe it will be. It should be. Otherwise, they can't. I am expecting like something in equivalence of 10 to 15 billion US dollars, which means like 60 million to 80, 90 billion Turkish liras. It will be printed. Maybe the government is not going to announce this openly or explicitly, but I am confident that it is already under progress, because otherwise you can't fight with it, and there will be more disasters then to come up. Is there any way that we can predict what it might happen? No. But when it is going to be by the start of the summer or the midsummer, it will be more data in our hands, how we might see the things. And by end of this summer, we can talk about, based on if a cure is nearby or is already found or is not found, but how this is going to, we will talk about the global economy and the Turkish economy, how it's going to evolve for future, for sure. But our estimates in between 20 to, let's say, 30% loss GDP or minus is based on the fact that we will not find a cure, and the best case scenario depends on it will be controlled, and so the risks will be acceptable, and in case there will be no cure, no treatment. Let's see what will happen about it. If you like this video, there's a like button underneath the screen. Please press on it, and also if you subscribe yourself to our channel, we will most glad to see you again. Thank you for watching, and have a safe day over there. See you then. Bye.